as a teenager, when when I finally started learning more about history and learning about Dominican history and like how we our African descents, and started embracing that. Now we're getting into these arguments with my family and stuff like that, and it was like, how can I argue like, no, you're not black and we're not African, we're this, and it's like, really, like, but it's there. It's like the Republicans, that they don't pay attention to facts. Yeah, that's like what Dominicans are like sometimes. Definitely passionate. I think Dominicans are passionate people. I think that we're hardworking entrepreneurs. Like, based on my experience, like my mom and my dad. So they're the ones that, when it comes to being Dominicans, those are the ones that I look at. So it's like people like my mother. My mother came to this country, didn't speak the language, came, in the late 60s, and, she came here to work, and so I see a Dominican as being a risk taker, somebody who left their country, took that risk, not knowing how to speak the language, not educated, to kind of have a better life and help their family back in the Dominican Republic. And the same goes with my father. So, those traits are what makes up a Dominican to me. Then there's the party aspect. I think that everybody loves Dominicans, I feel, because we're a good time. But then there's also, there's the ugly side of being Dominican, and the history that we have when it comes to being ruled by Trujillo and that whole situation. I feel like Trujillo really did a number on Dominicans, people like my grandparents and my mother, that and then almost kind of brainwashed that whole generation, and it just trickled down to this day. So being a Dominican, it's a love-hate relationship. It is. Especially, for me, it's a love-hate relationship, because I love being Dominican. I love our culture. I love our history. But then at the same time, I hate it because, just the kind of situation that happens with Haiti, it's like you love being from the island. The island is beautiful. We have a great history. We're the first country that was discovered. According Christopher Columbus landed in Hispaniola. So we have some rich history, but at the same time we have a dark history. With Trujillo and that whole kind of brainwashing situation that happened, in my mom's generation and my grandparents' generation, and which has trickled down. And I think it's education that, like somebody like myself, like I grew up with that mentality, with my mother, but I went to college and I learned, what the right history is. I feel too that, Dominicans are also like in a state of denial sometimes, or they just don't like to recognize the truth sometimes. They just, like I was telling you earlier, they're like Republicans. They're like, the facts are there, but they don't go by that. They're still brainwashed by Trujillo.